Hello, how are you? I hope everyone is having a great start to the summer. Yeah, and pray to Christ. He'll take care of you. He's amazing. Yeah, so like it's a really nice day out, and I didn't feel like making a math video, but I had been thinking about making this little video sharing with you what kind of a student I was, both in high school and college, right? And so the reason why I hadn't done it up to now is because, well, it's a little bit self-indulgent, but there are 1,000 vlogs, actually like 1,000,000, and like a lot of people talking about themselves and their story. So why not me? I guarantee you that this is probably like the most interesting college story or like high school / college story ever. I tried to track down my Ray-Bans. They're probably in my car. Can't track them down. So I found this glass that my mom left behind. So there's always a way, right? What is it if you really want to get something done? So in place of a math video today, this is what I'm going to share with you. How I was as a student in high school and then college, right? Okay, so also like just a quick FYI, I only care about what Christ thinks. I don't care about what your opinion or what you think I am, who you think I am. You do not know me. No one knows a person except for the person themselves. Even if you did, I really don't care what you think. So please get that through your noggin. All right, so here goes. So first of all, like, however you slice it, I was a really good student, right? Like, how do you gauge a student? Well, how much have they learned? And, on paper to a degree, right? So in high school, by the time we were applying to college, even though I did very poorly in my English and history classes and such, I was still second in my class, right? And so where do we start? So that out the way, right? So I got into the college I got into on merit, right? That out the way. In 9th grade I figured out that I didn't have to go to class all the time, right? Like I figured out that I could like skip school and then like write a note, sign it. My mom's signature was pretty easy to emulate, so sign it and then submit that to the attendance office. And then like I didn't have to go to school, and I really did not like going to school. Like there was a nerd group in like 10th or 11th grade. I was always in my physics teacher's like class at lunch. Like of course, like I got along with the jocks and pretty much everybody, but like it was still like an awkward situation. Not everyone in my school, it was a public high school, although good, was invested in learning. So it wasn't like, people made fun of you if you don't wear the right shoes, like basketball shoes, which is so dumb. I actually coincidentally found like one of the guys who used to do that to people, like asking me for change years later on a subway station in Pentagon City Mall, around that area in Arlington, Virginia, which is where I went to school. So like obviously like his situation is bad, and like as a man of Christ I don't judge anyone, like, but like don't make fun of people for what kind of shoes they're wearing. You're not cool. Like I'm like infinitely cooler than you, despite the fact that I am a nerd, a math nerd. It's just silly. Anyway, I digress, right? So like I just didn't like going to school for several reasons, and so then I just like learned in 9th grade that I could skip. And so like my mom went to work at 5 a.m. and came back at 5 p.m. meaning like she did not know where I was during the school hours. So like her only day off was Monday, and so then I recruited this one friend to join me. So on Mondays I went to a KFC and spent the entire day at a KFC with my friend. And on other days, like I just didn't go to school because my mom wouldn't notice. I just stayed at home and did my work. And the attendance office was so silly because like They had one time I went there to submit my note. Like, I killed so many grandmas that I had or I didn't have, like, on these notes, be like, my grandma died or whatever. Like, so, and I gotta say, like, do not try this at home. This is not a model of how to be. Like, you know, if you're good at flying jets and that's your natural, like, tendency, great. So in other words, like, you might try to do this and like fail all of your classes, so don't do that. I'm not saying I was a model student, but anyway, I like one day I went to the attendance office, right, like to submit one of these notes. The lady pulled out my folder. My folder was so thick, and it's like, did they not at any point suspect, like, oh wait, like we should call his mom and see like what she says, right? And they never did that, right? So I got away with that, like pretty much throughout my high school career. And as I said, I was like second in my class in the fall of senior year when we applied to colleges in some context, out of 341 kids to be specific. And what is it? Oh yeah. So like just before that, right? Like this is kind of braggadocious, but whatever. Just before being second, I was like fifth or something like that, right? But then like what is it, junior year I had a statistics class that I wanted to take, AP statistics, but it wasn't in my schedule. So I never took regular statistics. All the kids who took regular statistics the next year took AP statistics. And because I couldn't fit AP statistics, although I convinced the teacher that I am qualified for it without taking regular statistics, which was the prerequisite, I like made an agreement with the teacher to like during my free period, which would have been for that course that wasn't aligned to when the course was happening, I should like sit in the library, the librarians could watch me, and I could just do my work there, right? And so like I like did my work there, and then I well, most of the time, like I didn't do my work all the time, but I did go to the library just enough for the librarians to see me, and the librarians in context thought out I was a good kid, and so like they didn't really like, you know, keep a strict watch on me on whether or not I was at the library at that hour every day. But anyway, like I basically like submitted enough homeworks and so on. Like I would just like slide him in the teacher's door when he wasn't there, whenever I could go there, and I submitted them like, you know, 2-3 weeks at a time and whatnot, right? Anyway, long story short, when the AP exam came, right, like I was screwed because like there were like 13 chapters in the book, and I was like skipping around and doing homework, but like I wasn't like consistently doing homework or really studying the AP statistics book, right? The teacher gave me the book, and so what I did was like literally like 5 days before the AP, I just decided to cram, like literally like study from chapter 1 on. And of course, because I was cramming very last minute, I like only got to chapter 10. Chapter 11 was like chi-square distribution. So I never made it to a chi-square distribution. So basically, I only was able to cover up to chapter 10 out of 13 on my own studying in preparation for the AP. But I got a 4 on the AP exam. And like the highest score of any student who actually attended the AP statistics class was a 3. So I like went to my teacher when I saw that I was ranked 5 out of 341 kids, and I said to him, hey, listen, like I like made you look good. Like I'm like, I had to have worked really hard. How could I have gotten a 4 when like the highest score of anyone in your class is a 3? And so you should change my grade from a B to an A. And so he like went and changed my grade from a B to an A, which then moved me up the rankings from 5th to 2nd, which is like very well timed, right? Okay, so then like that tradition carried on, and so like after I got into a really good college, like the college, when you selected your housing, like had an application where on one spot you could show preference to being roommates with someone who wanted to study the subject you wanted to study. And of course, I know a long time ago I wanted to study math, and so I selected that, and I was assigned a room a dorm, right? A dorm room with like this other guy who's a math major. And I'm sure you guys already know this, but like, you know, from one math course to another, depending on the professor, they could look very, very different. Now, the first course I ever took was really an analysis course, but it was called Honors Calculus using Michael Spivak's book, right? That was my first math major math course, right? And that book I've in my book recommendations covered is a fantastic book, right? Anyway, like my roommate was also taking the same course but with a different professor. I really, really liked my first semester professor. He was really neat. I don't remember his name. And like he was the one professor other than this other professor whose class I attended as far as math courses go, right? Like I attended his class pretty regularly, like 75% of the time, right? Because, you know, like I worked in some parts of my time in college. I was a TA and I still had to do these really hard problem sets and also have fun with my friends. So like then that meant that I had to cut a corner, and the only corner I could cut was not going to class, because I really didn't benefit from listening to professors demonstrating stuff. I like just learned by reading my books, and you know, some people learn that way. So that's how I like learned most of my classes. But again, that fall semester, first semester, I like attended most of my classes. It was also just me trying to see, like, you know, how much I could get away with and such. And yeah, it turned out pretty good that fall semester. But then I realized that my roommate's math class was much easier. Like the teacher pretty much gave everyone B's and A's, right? And so for the next semester, I switched over to my roommate's section of that same math course, right? And of course now I had it even easier, which is I could give my homework to my roommate to submit for me and so on. So I did all my homework and stuff, but I didn't go to class a single time after switching, right? So the professor, you know, I don't know how good he was. In fact, really, really funny, right? Like, so like he knew my roommate submitted my homework for me. So like he told my roommate to tell me that he's not offended by me not attending his class, because he's like, if he ever came to class, then I would be offended because he might have like been missing class on a judgment of my poor teaching. But he's like, but he's never been to class, so it can't be because of my teaching. But anyway, last semester, I attended class 3 times. So we had 3 semesters. So, and same pretty much with the second semester. But the last semester, I attended class only 3 times. To take the first midterm, to take the second midterm, and then to take the final. So I just went and sat for the exams, but otherwise I didn't attend class a single time, right? So like the first day, right? So like I have these classmates who've never seen me, and because everyone in the class was like Caucasian, like it was pretty easy to stand out. I'm only half white, right? Like as I've said before, I lived in Germany, blah blah blah. Anyway, like so so like I show up to class and like to take the exam, right? And as soon as I walk in the door, habitually I was late. Like, so everyone is seated, they're about to begin their test, and it was like about 2 minutes into like the class when our first midterm was being given. As soon as I walked in the door, everyone clapped. I swear on Jesus, like everyone clapped, because it's like their first time seeing their classmate, one of their classmates. And so the teacher laughed it off, and he like, you know, gave me my test, and I sat for it and did fine and blah blah blah, right? And then like that happened again on the second midterm. I showed up on time, and then for the final, I once again showed up late after the teacher had given after the teacher had given the instructions to the kids. So this time he was really mad and annoyed. So like when I walked in to like sit for the final, he gave me the test. He was like, I just got done reading the instruction. Obviously you don't care, so whatever. And then he handed me my final. I took it, I did fine. And so I got through that way. And then that's basically how I carried on with the rest of my math courses. Abstract algebra, 2 out of the 3 semesters I took with a professor from MIT. She went to MIT, got her PhD there, and I really, really liked her, and she really, really liked me. Like, I remember one day, like, I was all unkempt, and like, I like like had just played soccer and I was all sweaty, blah blah blah, and it was an exam day, and so like all the seats were full. So like I sat in the aisle, like in between the seats, and I didn't have something to like write on. So she like gave me her pad to write on. It was really cute. Anyway, so her class, abstract algebra, 2 semesters, I attended pretty regularly because I didn't want to disappoint her. I really liked her. I wanted to show her that I cared. Carly is her name, and she also wrote me a recommendation for grad school. So that was really nice. But yeah, like I attended like my social sciences course, social sciences course, which was really like good and also like really shaped. I've said this in a different video on my book recommendations, shaped the person that I've become to a degree, because we read a lot of important philosophers, modern day, and also like, you know, all philosophers of the old time, like Nietzsche, Locke and Rousseau and yada yada. And so that course I attended every day because it was like debate centered, and I really liked arguing whatever I read, and my professor Anna really liked me. And so like, you know, again, I didn't want to disappoint her. She was a Harvard grad, Harvard, Stanford, and so that was fun. But you know, the rest of the time basically I really didn't value like classes. Even my humanities classes, I didn't attend most of them, but I had actually written papers like literally the day before, did some of the reading, like for example on Descartes, I wrote Don Quixote, is it? That, I don't know if it's Descartes who authored it, but anyway, I wrote a paper on that and I got an A- on that paper. And like someone who lived in my dorm, who stayed in my dorm, brought me the paper, my grade back, and she was pretty impressed that I got an A- and whatnot. But yeah, that's like basically like the short version of what kind of a student I was. And I really didn't pay for it. Like, in other words, like my lack of attending class did not really adversely affect my grades or what I got out of the classes for the most part. And also because I was on a scholarship, like some of the argument from my dorm mates was like, dude, you don't go to class, don't you feel bad for the money? Like, for the money you're paying? I'm like, I'm not paying money. Like, but anyway, don't do this. This is just like a somewhat interesting story to share. And like, I don't share a lot about myself on this channel. So that's my little story before I go off to biking. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't try this at home. Be a good kid. Like, go to class and like work hard. I mean, I did work hard. Otherwise I wouldn't have gotten into the college I did, and I would not have succeeded there if I didn't work hard. But basically, like, do whatever you want to do, man. I can't tell you. I don't know. That's what worked for me. I don't know what will work for you. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day, and I hope it's sunny on your side too. Take care.